We are live. Welcome to the Wrestle Hook podcast. You might know that song, might know who's here by that song. I'm here as always with my co-host Girard, but today we have a very special guest. It is the one and only Joe Hulbert of Late Night Grin fame. You might know him from Wrestle Peers, you might know him from Fightful, you might know him from the many towns that he's made this last month. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm great. That bit, the music bit, is probably the one I'm least. I think that's the bit of mine that I'm least involved in. That's like entirely other people's thing they've just given me, and I like. It's cool, right? I mean, that does half the work for you. But I'm thrilled to be here, fired up. Wembley week don't get much bigger, right, folks? I mean, this is exciting times, lots to talk about. So I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Gerard, how are you feeling now that we're just a few days away from All In?
Hey, I am rocking. I am rolling. I think that was such a great dynamite to just push us off into All In, and now with that being the appetizer, if you will, now we're going into the main course. Well, before a little bread on the 0 hour, how
Sure.
you like that bread before your meal. So come on now.
Yeah, it's an exciting week for sure. I have a couple of questions though before we get too deep into the all-in conversation. Joe, we usually, we've only had one other guest before, so I guess I shouldn't say usually. But what I'd like to do before we get started is kind of talk a little bit about how you first got into wrestling as a whole. So I guess what are those early memories you have? What are those early favorites you had in wrestling that you think back to?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have kind of a, I guess, unique um like opening earliest wrestling memories in some way, and because my older brothers were huge fans, but they're my oldest brother's like, God, he's 10 years older than me, so at like 3 4 years old I'm aware of Rock and Austin and such because of them, right? Like that was their guys, that was their era. So much so that when some of the work rate guys got pushes as the main event stars, my brothers were those fans that were like, oh, this is lame. Like
Right.
Chris Jericho, world champ, Eddie Guerrero, world champ, the other guy, world champ. Like, no way, right? So that was like the uncool era of wrestling, which is funny because like modern me, that would absolutely be the stuff that I was into. And so when they thought wrestling wasn't cool, you do what your older brothers do. It ain't cool. So I dropped out of it for years, and so I really became truly a fan in like the mid 2010s. So I don't have a ton of nostalgia for stuff when I was like an actual kid,
hmm
um, which I think is like a part of why my wrestling stuff is weird for people sometimes, But yeah, it's an interesting. But I mean, the mid 2010s, I have so much fond memories for that time in wrestling because it was a very different time to what we have now, but in many ways, it was what shaped what we have now, right? And you look at like Bullet Club's explosion, when you look at PWG becoming like a real thing on a national level, I feel like people were locked in on those shows happening in Reseda, as crazy it is to look back now. The Sinclair Ring of Honor tapings, all of that stuff, New Japan's Boom, all of that adds up to where we are now, where Sunday we're going to have a show at Wembley Stadium with that's not WWE. It's all there, right? All the pieces are still there. So yeah, it's the mid 2010s are like my sweet spot. Like that's when I really fell in love with wrestling personally.
That's cool. Yeah, I was when I was growing up as a wrestling fan, I was probably around 9 or 10 years old when I first got into it at all. And I'm the oldest brother, so I watched it at my friend's house down the street. And him and his dad would watch Raw in their basement. I remember like they would tell me the tales of Jeff Hardy before his departure around 2009 or so. So that was kind of my introduction to wrestling, was that early 2009 to 2012 kind of range, and then I kind of dropped out after that because got to high school, I decided I wasn't cool anymore. My little brothers watched it. I said it's too young for me. But for some reason during the pandemic, there was a WrestleMania show going on with no fans, and I decided, you know what, this is when I want to jump back in. I want to see what's going on here.
Wow.
And it took me a bit to realize, the outside of, because back when I was a kid, I only watched WWE. So it really was like it opened a whole new lens when I came back and I saw this. But then I saw the AEW no crowd shows that were like a little more lively, had the crowds, and I was like, okay. And I kind of leaned in there, and ever since then I've been a big AEW fan. So that's kind of my path to that. Gerard, I guess we might as well ask you as well. What was your story as a fan? How did you get into wrestling?
Well, mine dates back to it's gonna be about the early 2000s, like 2000, 2001. I remember watching that SmackDown because back then didn't have cable, so I was a SmackDown UPN kid. I loved that era of it. I couldn't remember a lot, but I do remember The Rock being spectacular when I don't remember a lot of those Attitude Era moments. But then
Hmm.
once we get into that ruthless aggression, that's when my fandom, that's when my memory of it all starts kicking on, and I started loving it. Eddie Guerrero, favorite of mine. Kurt, I can tell you, Kurt, once he won that world heavyweight title, once he threw Mark Henry over that rope, won my heart over, became a deep down favorite of mine. And then my fandom, once he went to TNA and once he left, that's how I breached and started learning about TNA. And then AJ Styles, found him on YouTube, and I was like, oh, he's there too. Oh, bet I'm at TNA too. Once I can find him on the interwebs, if you will. And then I got to high school 2009, and then it was, hey, where the ladies at? Ladies not checking for wrestling. So I guess I'm not checking. Oh, you like? Oh no, what's that? Wrestling? I ain't never heard of that. Who? They can't see me either. So I'm
Sometimes
over here.
I'm just not ready for a wrestling conversation. So I pretend.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh
last
man.
week.
But it was just a 2 year gap, and then Punk brought me back, and I've been here since. So hey,
Yeah.
that pipe bomb won me over.
There you go. Um, yeah. So before we get into All In, Joe, you attended All In last year. How was that experience being there for the first big Wembley All In?
It was very surreal. Very, very surreal. You knew going in, obviously, it was going to be a huge house because that was the whole talking point, right? Like it's going to be a record crowd. But that is very different to actually getting off the train, going up Wembley Way is like the big walk up to Wembley. It's kind of excruciating when you're leaving because everyone is, it's the thing. But walking in is one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had as a fan because it's what's waiting for you, but you're not ready to get off and see, acclaimed shirts and CM Punk shirts and elite shirts. 80,000 of these, and it's remarkable. Like I remember in the mid 2010s going to see um, Tanahashi and Okada and AJ and those guys in front of 500 people. And now, there's this show that's like built off that, and it was staggering, honestly. And I think, to be honest, I love the first All In because I was there.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of that show's quality, if we're being honest, was the novelty of it. Really, I don't think there's a ton of matches on that show that are going to like live forever as classics. I just think people loved the show because, like, look at this show. And that's my memory of it. There's one match in particular I remember, distinctly, which would soon be kind of drenched in lore and infamy. Of course, being CM Punk and Samoa Joe. But at the time, I didn't know that. I don't think anyone knew at the time. Um, that's a memory. While we're talking about it, I'll always after the match, Punk did the salute to all four sides of Wembley, right? And I said to my brother, I said, maybe that's it. I mean, I don't know. Like, the collision thing was so weird already, so I thought he was doing like this sort of, this sort of grand gesture of farewell. Little do I know he just had a fight and he assumed he'd be done anyway. It was very,
Hmm.
I took it as a much more like sort of modest gesture. But yeah, I remember it very fondly. It was very surreal and a special day for sure. A very special day, I think, in wrestling history, honestly.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. My experience was a little bit unfortunate watching this show because we started the show. I loved that Punk and Joe match, and then I work at a university, and on this campus we had like our biggest outage of internet in history. So we lost internet for about 4 days. All the cell towers were busy. I drove to Kroger to watch. By the time I got to Kroger, the FTR and Bucks match was on my phone. It was a bit of a disaster. So I do want to go back and watch it because I think you're right when you say that. This show is definitely, um, it was looked at very positively, but I think it was more for the novelty necessarily than
Yeah.
so. Um, with that being said, though, to talk about big stadium wrestlers in the main event this year, it's about the biggest stakes you could have with Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. Girard, this week on Dynamite, we had a big go home angle. The Dragon finally fired up. He dropped the F word twice, which, two more times than he has so far. So it was exciting to me. But how are you feeling about this match coming up on Sunday?
You know, that once we're getting the F bombs on here and he seems impassioned, now he's going through here and it's almost like he's also saying his final goodbyes, like, yo, hit him with it. You do it. Just giving people permission, and he's saying his final goodbyes and everything. I kind of feel like either it could be a retirement or it's all just a mislead because this man's really gonna win. Because like they're it feels like a retirement because they're giving him in front of this large, great, boisterous crowd in Cardiff. He's getting to drop the F bombs. He's getting to give the heroic save. He's getting to get that final go ho promo. And what an impassioned promo! What if that's your final way to go out and say goodbye on Dynamite? Like, oof, you don't need you don't have to come back the next week with retirement promo. You just cut it right there. That was a strong, great promo. And
Mhm.
so leading us into the show, I felt like we're shifting those dynamics so much to just say, hey, everybody, Swerve is the heel, Brian is the face. And we've done that before in AEW, but at this point, I'm questioning if Swerve was to beat Danielson, and this is a question to the group too. If Swerve beats Danielson, can he come back when we have the Hangman feud and still be a babyface? Because like, will the fans accept that? Or hey, you took our Danielson moment away from us. Hey, you're a heel now.
Yeah, Joe, what do you think about? I guess because I think something we've already been talking about the last couple of weeks is um, trying to AEW's very very much fluid and with their baby faces and heel dynamic. Um, do you think that if we jump right back into a Brian and or Swerve and Hangman match at All Out, it'll be firm with the baby face and the heel dynamics, or how do you think that's going to play out?
It's interesting. It's been the part of the feud that I've enjoyed, but I'm slightly torn on in the sense that I think Swerve was actually trending very strongly as a top babyface. And with this and the Osprey feud, honestly, they've kind
Mhm.
of tinkered with it. Now, I don't think it's a problem because the Swerve character is very unique in that way, right? He kind of turned babyface by being a villain.
Right.
It's different. I think the reason it won't be an issue is, in fear of bearing the lead here with my prediction. I think by the end of All In, it will be kind of clear that Swerve was doing what he was doing out of like he wanted the best Brian Danielson.
Mhm.
That kind of is going to be the idea. I think once this whole deal is done, they'll both feel like baby faces. Now, again, if that was to be a Swerve retiring Brian, I think that'd be a lot harder to do. But I don't think that's the way we're going here. I think the idea coming out of this is going to be that kind of Dragon won, but Swerve is more than happy to have lost to a perfect Brian at his absolute best, rather than a guy who's like got one foot out the door. I think is the idea.
Yeah, I think that's a really good perspective because that's definitely been something I've been pondering throughout the Osprey when it started with the Osprey as well because going into the match, Girard and I made the trip to Dynasty. Very very glad that we did.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember at that time the talk of the town, before that match even being that if Swerve's title reign is clearly going to end at All In, is that too short of a run? Is that is he a transitional champ? But the reality is, I think we've seen like to me this is probably one of my most memorable AEW World Championships so
Yes.
far, and I think that's something that especially on the WWE side, I could always do for some shorter reigns because they can be just as impactful. Um, you know, I think we get a little too into the 100 days, 200 days kind of.
Way too into it. Way too into it. It's not, and there's so much that goes into being a champ. Firstly, the biggest thing Swerve's done, more than have great matches and cut great promos, look at the way he carries himself as champion. When he loses this belt, the next time you see him, you're going to be like, it's weird to see Swerve without the belt, and he hasn't had it that long. That's what champions are supposed to feel like. I think we've got so rigid with that stuff, and I think sometimes the bookers, especially with the big two now, it's like a guy will win a belt and then they'll already have it penciled in. He's losing it at next SummerSlam.
Right.
What do you mean? Like this is let's see how things develop. And Swerve, I think this is the first of many. About Reigns, then it's probably a failure on creative rather than him. I think
Mhm.
it's fair to say. So, yeah, I'm with you completely. He hasn't felt like a transitional champ at all.
Gerard, before we go to the next one, I guess what is your official prediction here? Because I know you've kind of been pondering both sides of the equation.
You know, I want that Danielson win because I just love Danielson. I said it last time and I'm gonna say it again. I love Danielson. That's just a pro wrestler. He has brought so many magical moments just on my television screen. And now in my later years of traveling and actually going to shows, I've got to see so many great moments with this man. So I want him to have that one big moment. And I've wanted him to get that dub because I'm tired of him not getting like, oh, I don't need this win. Give it to this like Danielson, take a dub. Come on, man. Just take the damn dub. Come
Mhm.
on. But I'm also loving the swerve push. And you know what? I love his babyface push, and I hate that this could diminish it, but a next level vicious swerve versus Darby oh my goodness, at Grand Slam. Him just putting the beat down on Darby. I could see that down the road way better than I could see a Danielson Darby match, which I'm not against at all. I think that would be a fun match. But I could also see the Darby Swerve because they haven't really circled each other since the gem incident. So I'm gonna say Swerve.
Okay.
Put my stamp on Swerve.
I respect that. I think to me, when we talk about winners here, um, it's interesting that now we are very much leaning all towards Brian so strongly, um, considering like how many years of Brian not wanting to win a title has happened before that. Um, and I feel like what they've been trying to do is convincing us that maybe if Brian's not locked in, maybe that's the way that Swerve gets it done. Maybe if Brian's not healthy enough, that's how he gets it done. Just to try to throw us off the scent. But I'm gonna go Danielson. Um, I think another interesting layer to that is that with the Casino Gauntlet, which we can jump right into next, it's been rumored or reported that or suggested that this is a anytime, any place sort of deal rather than just a name your pay per view for who's going to get the world championship shot. So depending who wins that, I think you can definitely go either way with Danielson going against Hangman, or against Moxley, or against a potential winner. But yeah, I'll go Danielson as well. Um, to start the Casino Gauntlet conversation, like I said, that's the stipulation. We think it can happen anytime, any place. Hasn't been said outright. Um, but so far we have Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, Roderick Strong, I think, Hangman,
Yep.
Evil Uno, and that's about all we know so far. Evil Uno. That segment was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts going into this one? Because to me, this could be one of those matches that steal the show as far as a stadium crowd with the match.
Yeah, for sure. This stipulation is one of the best things that they've like original stipulations. This is among their best, I think. And at Wembley, with the star power we presume is involved here, and the entrances and the pop for each entrance, this is going to be spectacular. The biggest strength for the stipulation is you can include as many stars as you want because you don't have to beat any of them, right? Evil Uno could get pinned by any of these guys, and none of them lose for that.
Exactly.
So, I think this will be spectacular. There's going to be some ridiculous talent in this, I'm pretty sure. That goes from just the AEW side, but also, lest we forget, there's some international talent in London for the Rev Pro show that will be available. So I think this is going to go the full 21 and get everyone in this deal. It's going to be spectacular. I think a surprise leaves with the victory, however. I think John Moxley's coming back. We're going to have some wild thing at Wembley, I think. I think that's where I'm leaning, but this is going to be great. I think this could be the big triumph for the night and could solidify this stipulation as like AEW's kind of trademark thing.
Yeah, that can be really interesting, especially if you consider that Danielson's likely favorite with the title.
Yeah.
If they wanted to run that at All Out alongside a Swerve and Hangman, like that's that's two big time matches right there. So, Girard, do you have any dark horses for this match? Anyone that you're looking to see that maybe is not announced yet?
I do not. I do not. I last week would have told you Ricochet, but nah, I've got Ricochet doing something else now. So
Oh,
we'll
okay,
we'll talk about him later.
sure.
So
Um, I definitely think Ricochet is going to be here in this spot, but the one I'm wondering is because you have to do so little in the match, like, or you could do so little. I wonder if you talked about Nigel McGuinness potentially wrestling on the show, months back, circling Danielson as an opponent. But if there's a moment, where you can work him in and he can do a couple of moves and roll out of the ring, I think that's one dark horse one. But yeah, I'm interested to see all the surprises, the pops. Yeah, this to me has like one of those biggest chances at over delivering, I guess, from maybe the feelings going in, especially because it's so unknown for the show. But yeah, moving on, we can go into the TNT Championship match. Jack Perry defending the title against Darby Allin. So this is a coffin match. Darby, I believe, has not lost a coffin match thus far. But it's an interesting dynamic because Jack Perry had with the Elite hasn't had necessarily a ton of defenses. Darby has upcoming world title shots, so you got to kind of play the idea in your head. Or is he potentially going to be chasing as a double champion? Would they kind of screw him out of this? Like, what different ways could they go? Joe, what are you thinking about this matchup in particular, and then a winner?
Yeah, this is I think is another one to circle as a bit of a dark horse for show stealer, to be honest. Darby Allin is just unbelievable. Really one of the finest wrestlers in the world, I think, at this point. I think his track record speaks for itself. I think he can have a good match with me. Well, maybe not me, but someone slightly more. But, he's tremendous. And Jack Perry is super game and willing to do crazy things. So with this stipulation, I think this has a real chance to rock the house. Placement's important, right? I think this definitely would benefit from being on the earlier side of the show. But even if it isn't, they have the coffin deal. They have Darby and Jack. I think they're both established on TV. They've done a decent job like heating up the conflict. It's a little uneven, the build, because it's kind of come and gone. But I don't think they need much more than they've got, to be honest. So this has a real good chance to deliver big. Finish wise, I think the Arthur Ashe deal is kind of a spoiler in the sense I don't think they're going to do title for title. So I think Jack leaves with the belt. It also just feels like he's not really got started with the belt yet.
Mhm.
So which is an issue in itself.
Right.
But it makes me think he's going to keep it here. I'm pretty sure he's keeping it.
Okay. Girard, what are you thinking on this?
I'm leaning towards Darby because I can't see Darby taking 2 L's in these championship matches, and it's not out of love for Darby because I'd rather see Darby take the AEW championship, but I don't truly foresee that being the route. I just don't see him sliding into the picture this year, honestly. I don't think he's in that sphere. So him taking that TNT title off of Jack coming back at Arthur Ashe to cost him and maybe be an additional cost or factor in him losing at Arthur Ashe to then run that back. I can see that. And then the coffin, like, oh, I'm gone for a minute, but now I'm back again. So hey,
Sure.
Jack, the unkillable one that he likes to be. So
you're going Darby.
I'm going Darby.
One thing I think, it's been speculated a little bit if Sting might make an appearance in this match, or some type of assistance for Darby. So I feel like if Sting makes an appearance, that kind of makes me lean a little bit more towards Darby. But yeah, I think Joe, you're right with this being another match that could steal the show, because Darby and a plunder match on a show that doesn't have too many big step matches other than maybe the casino thing and the ladder match. But I think this one will really be a standout, and I'm gonna go Darby. I also wonder, originally I kind of thought Darby could be an opportunity for someone that could actually take the title off Danielson if he wins it here at some point down the road. So I think it's a little unfortunate that match is so soon in that Danielson potential title reign. But that's one that you could circle too, is they could always go back to that. Potentially Washington. I guess we'll see. So I'll go Darby, but that one's more of a toss up for me. Kind of to stay with these championship matches, there was a contract signing to begin Dynamite in Cardiff between Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker for the TBS champion. This build has been definitely a little stop start for reasons we don't have to go into on the show. They're rumored. They're out there.
Thank you.
But Yeah, what are y'all thinking for this match? Because this is one where I really am not sure how good this is going to be.
Go ahead,
Mm,
Joe. Take it, man.
yeah, tough question. I will take it though. I appreciate it. Got to be the biggest distance between floor and ceiling on this one, right? Like, I think there's a version of this match that's quite bad, to be honest with you. I think there's a
Hmm.
version of it that surprises people. I think it depends what direction they take. If they go with something crazy here, they brawl a lot, they come up with some cool like stunt bump kind of deals. I think it could actually be very fun because you assume this is going to have a good atmosphere, right? I mean, 2 stars, Stadium should have a big fight feel. I just think if they try to have a classical wrestling match, I don't know. I don't know if that's the route to take here, personally,
Hmm.
but maybe I'm wrong. Mercedes Moné knows an awful lot more about professional wrestling than I do. And she's generally kind of a genius when it comes to match construction. I reckon she's got something up her sleeve. I lean towards this being on the positive side of that kind of scowl,
Hmm.
that kind of variance. Mercedes has to win, though, right? She has to win. I think it would be. I think maybe not, but I think she has to win. maybe not. I think she has to win, but I'm intrigued what version of the match we get.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that one. I'm leaning towards it being good. I just think because Britt Baker, I've my first ever AEW live show was St. Patrick's Day Slam in San Antonio a couple of years ago, which was Britt Baker's big cage match against Thunder Rosa for the title, and that obviously benefited from having that hometown vibes to it, and the big cage and all that. But I feel like for the big moments, especially with someone as talented as Mercedes, I think this. I'm leaning towards it being good, but I'm definitely not gonna write it in pen. But yeah, I'll go with Mercedes as well. Girard, I guess what are your thoughts going into this one, and um, yeah, what are you thinking?
I'm not gonna like leave anybody in suspense. It's definitely Mercedes for me as well. Like that, we don't need to bury the lead on that. But match
Good God.
wise, I'm looking at this. Oh, homie, it could never. I was like, when I first jumped on the AEW bandwagon, I'm like, I was a Brit fan in the beginning. Yeah, I'm trying to do the finger thing and everything with her, but all the drama, I'm just like, can we just take a break? Pump the brakes, and then you know, but Mercedes, I'm gonna start throwing some words out here. Nia Jax, back in the day, one of her best matches on Raw, Sasha Banks. I remind you, folks, she got one of the best matches out of her. She could literally get one of the best matches out of everybody on that roster back then. She's a proven track record.
Yeah.
Like even her, like some of her lower stuff is like. Now, here's the one thing I'm worried about. It's just ego involved in the match, so that's the questionable thing. But I just wish she would get rid of the moneymaker. I'm sorry, it's not my
Yeah.
move. I don't think I've ever seen it look and it just kind of leaves me at the end of the match saying like, oh, and then my
Yeah.
meal just
That was
kind
great
of
until the.
ended weird.
Yeah.
That last bite was kind of off,
Mhm.
but I'm still happy I had this meal. So like, what a great meal.
Right.
So with that being said, Sasha Banks. Oh, good lord, Mercedes Monet. I have not said that in a hot minute, but Mercedes Monet for the win. I'm hoping for some haterade at the end of the match. I'm gonna be thirsty by the end of the match, so I'm hoping Jamie Hayter comes out to greet us to maybe level the playing field after Camille has done her due diligence and interrupted in the match to protect that title for the CEO. And then I would love a tag match, maybe it all out between Camille and Mercedes against Hater and which I know there's also some other stuff with there that I've now discovered too. But
That's fine.
maybe we can, if Matt Hardy and Edge can put it together for a program like that with all
Mhm.
that, hey,
Anything can
anything
happen.
can happen.
It's wrestling, so you can't put it past it. But I do hope we see Jamie Hayter in some sort of form. So, do you have any way you'd like to see Jamie on this show? Is there anything?
I'm actually kind of confident now, which
Mhm.
is a mistake on my part because I know nothing. I kind of think Soraya is gonna like hijack the show of an in-ring promo, and Jamie's gonna come out and beat her up. I kind of think. They've done such an emphasis on like Soraya going back to Wembley. it feels like that's going to something. It may not be. She may just be doing her own angle on Rampage, but I think she's gonna like hijack the show in the middle of it and cut a brief promo, and then Jamie's music's gonna hit, which would be a mega pop.
Oh yeah.
I think we're gonna get Jamie Hayter on. So I really do. Again, that's a mistake on my part because if she's not there, like, there's not really any indication she will be. I'm just guessing, but
No, but I
yeah,
think
hopefully.
I guess the positive to me is that there has been some suggestions or rumors and some
Right.
conversation around her, and would have been so scary for the last like years that it's really just been so silent. And um, I'm just glad that there's some conversation about it because it seems like hopefully the health is getting there to a point where that's a real possibility. So yeah,
It, it breaks my heart that she missed last year, and then
For
like,
real.
hey, at this point, I don't remember what show that was in New Japan, but when they brought back oh my god, he's in AEW now. He had the brain injury with Okada. I cannot think of his name off the top
Bada.
of my head.
Right.
Shibata. When they brought Shibata out in the crowd, hey, he's good. Look, I'd love a Wembley moment, even if we can just get that. Just
Mhm.
let me see my girl and let her wave at the folks, or let her just say hi and say like I'm coming back soon to whoop some ass. Like, let me see my girl.
Yeah,
Bring back the hate.
I think there's something to that, especially because it'll be that stadium, but also you'll have the hometown vibes and just all good vibes around. Kind of just showing that appreciation that we're glad you're back. So I think that's one of those feel good moments that I'm definitely really hoping happens. Speaking of hometown or something like that, we got MJF and Will Ospreay on the show. Uh, we got our American up there in his suits and dropping Ben Shapiro quotes, and he's doing his thing, I guess. Um, but yeah, going up against Will Ospreay yesterday. Yesterday was a big time angle here. Um, you know, like many of the Max ones do, it went quite long, but thought there was some pretty good character development stuck in there at some point when MJF had a moment of weakness, saying that he really freaked out, saying the people loved me until you showed up and ruined it. And I'm glad to see that because with Max, that's been one of my bigger frustrations this year. Um, is that it just feels like, after the Punk feud that we were getting to a place where Max was going to be changed because of it, and they did the whole better than you baby stuff last year and came back and said we're serious now. Kind of gone back and forth. Definitely, he definitely has his things he consistently will hit. But I like that development. I like that. I feel like there's some progression with the character. But most importantly, he crossed the line with Osprey, talking about his family. Osprey decided that 100,000 pounds is not enough to hold him back from this one, and they had a pretty good pull apart brawl. Um, Joe, how are you feeling about this match? To me, I think this is one of those the clearest results that's maybe on the show. Yeah, what are your thoughts going into this one?
I think this is going to have the hottest crowd, to be honest. I think, you kind of have to put, an asterisk with like Brian Danielson wizardry because he's going to come out to Final Countdown and things will happen once that happens. But in terms of like the actual heat for the match, I think this is going to be electric. I'm intrigued what kind of match they had. Obviously, their last match was quite long. um, I'm intrigued how they adjust accordingly. Obviously, it's a different setting. This is not TV. I think most likely at the end of the night, I think if you was to do a poll outside of Wembley on Sunday, I think this will be the pick for match of the night. Now, that does not mean it won't include some things that personally irritate me, but that's me, right? The general, I think people are going to love this match. So I'm pretty. There you go. And of course, I have my famed personal rivalry with MJF too, so
Mhm.
that's obviously an
A
issue.
big
But
deal, yeah.
it's a big deal, yeah. So I'm excited for the atmosphere. I think they're going to tear it up. I'm not as bullish result wise as you
Okay.
because you never know with old Maxwell Jacob Friedman. This is very anything can happen. But I think your take is correct, and I think it's pretty obvious that Will Ospreay should win here at Wembley Stadium against the American Shapiro fella. So yeah, I got Ospreay. I think the match will tear the house down to it. I think this will be electric at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, Gerard, how are you feeling about that? Where's the result in your mind, and what are you looking for in the match specifically?
Well, if I was gonna be, if I was gonna be one of those DeVille's advocates, I would say at this point it's probably going to be. I see that American belt, and we didn't just make a new belt for nothing. And I know that's defeating my argument with the Jack Perry belt, but I honestly look like that just looks burnt, and it just looks like it was left on the
He
grill
did it
too damn
himself.
long.
You see
Just
that?
like, come on, man, like. But like, do I want to go buy that custom belt of the? No, no, thank you. So if I'm keeping it a buck with you, that American belt. Some people really like that American belt. I could see the gimmick going long, and if I see that happening, I'm gonna keep leaning on this line because I think they're just trying to bury it at this point. But Kyle Fletcher went, why don't you just hit him with it? Why don't you just hit him with it? Why not just him? And like, once again, Jason Todd said the same thing to Batman. Why won't you just kill the Joker? Just him. So, and Batman could never do it, and so there was that beef. Then I don't think the beat down on Kyle Fletcher was for nothing. I don't think Kyle's just gonna let that beat down slide. So if his boy can't hit the move on him, if he hesitates one more time, I think Kyle might be coming out to have his piece with his boy in the ring. Home crowd be damned. And then I think that might be MJF's way to take that belt home.
Interesting. I hadn't considered that happening. Like, I think that could definitely be a post match direction in a way.
All that's being said, Osprey for the win. I'm sorry. Like I'm just letting
You're
you
just
know
playing
that
the
was like
devil's
the Bills advocate, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that context because I didn't even really consider that as far as how the match goes. We have lots of Tiger Driver drama. Joe, what are you thinking about this? How's this move going to come into play in this match?
Well, that's probably the part of this match that's going to irritate me. I think, honestly, I don't know. I think Will Ospreay is unbelievable, spectacular, all the superlatives. I think he has one chink in his armor, which is that he is not a strong wrestling actor, which is not a crime I hold against him because who cares? Unfortunately, they have come up with an angle here where he's specifically tasked with doing wrestling acting, and
Dramatic faces.
there's gonna be points in this match where he's gonna he's gonna go to do it and then start. The real way to do it is he just hooks him and hits him and pins him, right? I mean, that would get a mega pop. Um, that's not. I think it will be a lot more dramatic than that. Which I mean, look, here's the thing. I've clearly made my mind up and don't care. Let's see how 50,000 react, right? Let's see if the angle on TV gets over. Let's see if when he hooks him and he hesitates, maybe people react to that strongly. Like that's what I mean. Personally, I think it's a very silly. I mean, his finish is the hidden blade. It's like a concussion, you know.
It
Like
looks objectively worse, like for your
way
opponent.
worse.
So
Yeah, way worse. So I'm not a big fan, but I'm intrigued how the crowd reacts. I do think it will be all over this match. I think it'll be like there'll be a lot of that actually. So we'll see.
yeah, I'm going Osprey as well. Like I think it's. I just feel like how can you know? But I've been wrong before, so especially WrestleMania 39.
Oh, that was that was something else in
Yeah.
watching that watching that spectacle live. And that's your first WrestleMania, and you like, fuck, they The Rock was supposed to be here, his punk ass, Dwayne still at home. Oh, and then now they gonna take Cody's win from me too. What's this?
That's
And
a
then
tough 1-2 punch.
The chicken, come on.
Yeah,
So,
tough.
But
Yeah, so like I said, I think that's even though that story's not, I haven't loved every beat of it. I do think that it'll probably add to some of that drama with the American
Right.
components, and I do have a feeling that once Will wins the belt back, that's just going to be over with. I hope that if Max is going out there quoting Ben Shapiro in the next episode, I would be a little more concerned. But for now, I think it'll play well into the match, and I'm really excited to see those crowd dynamics. So, to move on, we have a tag team championship match. It was a match on Dynamite this week. FTR and Darby versus the Bucks and Jack Perry, which I thought was really, really good for what it was meant to be. But Joe, I know you're a big FTR fan. Do you think that they're going to be taking these belts? Because to me, I think it's been really tough. This is like one of the tougher matches for me to figure out where exactly they're going.
I don't, but I'm more than willing to pretend. And I believe in justice, and I think it's time we have to right wrongs here. These belts, we need to save these belts. And I don't. The Acclaimed are not saving these belts.
Like
I'm
we
sorry
can cross
to
that
announce
one
it
out.
here. Look, I'm not, folks. I'm hesitant to say it. I know that it doesn't mean a lot coming from me, but unfortunately, we have to put the tag belts back on the FTR for a while and just save. We have to save whatever's left. We have to steady the ship. So they're not going to win. I think the Bucks are going to win, which I feel quite strongly about. But I'm a guest, and I'll be polite and say I disagree with that decision. But I think the match will overachieve. A lot of people are doubting this. The Young Bucks will give a shit here at Wembley. FTR, the Acclaimed will be the Acclaimed. Bones will be really good, and Max will be there. And I think this actually will be really good, honestly. I think this will surprise people. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Girard, how are you feeling about this one?
I just feel like every team just feels kind of dirty in this match. I don't know why. Even FTR, like, and I'm not trying to be mean about it, but like, doesn't everybody just feel like they just need a bath and a break? Like, and Caster, shave that shit off your fucking lip, my dog.
Yeah.
Please and thank you, man.
It's the best
Go
wrestler in
back
the
to
world.
5 o'clock shadow,
Yeah.
but shit, what is that? Gunslinger, homie? Like, take a break, dog.
Yeah, it's odd that no one feels like they really need the titles, and no one there's not the natural thing to get behind. And the fact that this was such a similar build to the trios titles, like as far as not really having a clear opponent, having to have draws and DQs along the way, definitely not the most interesting story going in. But that being said, I think FTR are just gonna will this to being good. Like you said, the Bucks are really good. Girard, who do you have winning this?
Well, my thing is, I keep leaning on the question of who needs those belts the most. I haven't.
Nobody.
But here's the thing. I didn't think about the fact of what do the belts need the most.
Okay,
I'm thinking about who needs them the most in this point, and I hate to say it, folks, but I kind of feel like either the Bucks keep them, but like I don't feel like they've been doing anything with them. But like the way to kind of
we got to fight for what's right, brother. We have to make this right. We can't go on like this.
I want FTR to win. I would love them to win, but I don't know.
They're not going to.
I think the Acclaim need them more, and I think that's who's probably going to end up getting them.
If
it's going to change at Wembley, it's going to be the Acclaim, and
I agree. I think FTR are the least. I actually think FTR are the least likely winners. Sadly, yeah, I agree.
They don't need it. They've done it all. The 7-star FTR.
They don't need it, but the belts need them.
That is also true, and we should fight for justice. You're right.
I'm gonna fight for justice. I'm gonna pick FTR.
I hate to pull this point, but like if we look at other companies right now, we should be building young stars and growing young stars, and they're the youngest in the match.
Okay.
And they do need that would help.
Well, they need it. Yeah.
Get them something.
Have you considered Max Caster? However, that feels we need to consider these. We need to consider these elements. I don't know.
So do we get like a separate Billy Gunn pop in this? You think? I feel like
always, yeah.
He's definitely gonna have to do a little running.
I think that's my biggest problem. I need him to take a break.
Yeah. I actually wouldn't mind. I'll say this for the Acclaimed. I like Anthony Barnes a lot. I would like to know, but I'll say this for the Acclaimed. If they won and actually turned heel in winning, and then the FTR Acclaim thing continued in that vein, I actually wouldn't. I think that stuff's actually been pretty good, to be honest. The Bucks are incredible. They just don't seem to care very much about this ordeal. The Acclaimed are not incredible, but they at least, they put a really strong effort in on Collision. So I think there's something to that. It's just the division needs help beyond this match, right? Regardless of what they do, let's be honest. It's not about this match. It's about there's a problem with the way they build these teams up. So it needs help regardless.
Yeah, I think a heel run for the Acclaimed would be the freshest thing you could do if you want to keep them together, just to try to get something. Because it's been hard to see the quieter and quieter reactions. And at first it seemed like a thing that was kind of more just on Twitter and it was less in the building. Because I remember even back as far as Dynasty and stuff, the crowd would they'd still give him the pop. Maybe it's out of their trying to will him to be successful still. Um, but I felt like it was more online. But nowadays, I think it's definitely gotten to the point where something's got to give. So I think that's a good shout. I hope that they do something like. Um, we can move past it though because there is a women's world championship that I think has been the best built story so out of any of these. And it had a very interesting closing angle as well on the Go Home Dynamite. So Mariah standing tall, bringing out the shoe, getting the best of Tony. It's kind of felt like this whole ordeal. It just has to have Mariah coming out top, right? But I guess that being the go home angle to me kind of gave me a little bit of pause where I was wondering maybe because Tony's been kind of getting her shit rocked. I don't I don't know how else to say it. I feel like she comes out on the bottom side of a lot of these fights, these angles. So, Joe, what are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, I co-sign your point about the build. They should be really proud of what they've done with this, right? I think Mariah May is one of the biggest success stories of AEW's 2024, and I think they've had a good year, but in terms of developing talent and elevating talent, I think she's on like almost a different level to most of the other candidates, to be honest. So they should be proud of that. Speaking of such, Tony Storm has silenced a lot of critics. And there was a minute there where I was not sure the timeless thing needed to be world champion. I I take that back, honestly. She's a big star for them. She really is. I'm. If you'd asked me a month ago, I'd have been exactly where you're at in terms of Mariah's going to win the belt. I'm not so sure anymore. It's partly the build. I also think they may feel like there's still like work to be done with Mariah as like her own attraction, because she has been, and I kind of wondered that a little bit on. I'm intrigued by the reaction in this match, like the atmosphere, because Mariah's obviously at home, but Tony's beloved, so that will be interesting. Like the angle on Dynamite, the Mariah part of it didn't get like a huge reaction. I think people are genuinely kind of torn on who to root for here. Um, I'm picking Tony, kind of reluctantly so. I'm going to pick Tony because I don't know. I get this feeling this build hasn't kind of suggested to me she's winning the belt, Mariah, even though that felt the way initially
Right,
they were
all the
going.
way
So,
through that initial turn, I think.
yeah.
Bird, what are you thinking about this?
I've been so confident that it's going to be Mariah by the end of this, but I keep thinking of this just little weird opportunity that do we happen to see a certain redheaded individual in the crowd who is a free agent, just like chilling. Like I'm just saying, like if
I
Tony
couldn't have
wins,
predicted
I
that.
could see that being the big match to build to. But I that's if that was ever going to be a thing. I don't know what that redheaded individual's thoughts are currently. But I don't know. Maybe they have a summer home in Ireland. Maybe they're already there and they can just skip over a little bit more, take another flight over, and then make an appearance, be in the top row, taking another wave like Mercedes Monet last year. But I see that for Tony if she wins. But outside of that, I believe once again I'm on the let's elevate these young talent mode. So if I'm willing to throw the tag belts on the Acclaimed over what I really want, Mariah better get that belt and go all the way.
Minus King in the three. That's a good prediction, Drew.
Oh no! At no point did I bring up all red everything.
Oh, you got it. I think you got it.
No.
I'm gonna I don't know. I'm gonna pick Mariah, but very hesitant. Just because I feel like for so long I thought that was the case, and they didn't start doubting it.
Yeah.
But I gotta stick with Mariah. But this is one where I think a lot of times at these big AEW shows it can feel a little bit predictable going in, which is not necessarily a bad thing because I think telling logical stories to me is the most important thing and elevating the right talent. But this is one where I truly think it's excited to see. Second to last, I believe, Chris Jericho versus Hook. Any thoughts there?
Well, This is all terribly unfortunate. If we're being honest. I mean, it's I don't know. I just I don't know how you could possibly care. I'm sorry. I really don't. That's very seldom my approach because usually I'm aware that things I don't care about there will be. I honestly don't know how you could still care about this feud for this belt. Like
No.
it got like not interesting, but when like Joe and Shibata were involved, it had like a little tiny amount of charm.
It did have charm.
Yeah, and now it's back to just and Hook is just so stagnant as a talent. It's very frustrating, and Jericho is. I honestly can't believe the match he had on Dynamite this week was a fine match because I think Tommy Billington's very promising, but Chris would have had a genuinely good match with him like 2 years ago. You know, like it's wild to me. So this if this goes long, this is probably going to suck. I hope it's short.
I do too. And
It's done. Yeah,
yeah, last year I was already sick of Jericho going into All In, but I did like his match.
yeah,
Honestly, it was still good. He still had that capability. It's just I think on Dynamite he had a pre-tape match and then picked up the microphone. I had to walk away at that point. I just decided this is my time to go get a snack, go to the bathroom, take care of my business. But yeah, this is tough for me to really go into any further than that. I hope this is the end of the FTW championship. I'm not sure if that's a possibility, but it'd be nice if he could hand it to his dad and go off into the sunset or something. Girard, I mean, I feel like for this one, Hook's got to win. I don't think the result could be anything different. Do you have any thoughts on this match?
Where's I miss Quake by the Lake, Jericho, man. Like, does anybody remember that episode of Dynamite?
Yeah.
Like that match with him and Mox for the title. I think that was still the interim title at that. I thought, man, where's that Jericho? That was a fun match. I'm good, man. I'm tired of Jericho. I was there. We were there at Dynasty. Please retire. Yeah, take that ass home, homie. Just take a second. Take a break. Take a kick cack and take a break, bro.
Yeah, and we talked about it on the way home from that show, Girard. Like, I think he was even which podcast. It might have been one Joe was on. But we were talking about how Jericho famously was pretty self aware, right? He always took breaks, and he knew that to be fresh, he had to go away for a minute. He had to step back, change it up. I don't think this approach is the best one to go with, but I just can't believe how far it's gotten, and how there's not someone making a decision saying this can't go on.
I mean, I see some Shibata and Joe cameos to help support Hook. I like you said, I hope he hands his belt to his dad, he wins it, and he says, I'm about to go be my own man, Dad. I'm gonna chart my own path now. Like, thanks. Cause we can't keep doing the winning the FTW championship over and over again. You literally had to win it back last year at the same arena, man. Like, I'm good. Put this to bed. Jericho, go to bed. And let's all just take a break after this. All right, folks. Cause I don't know. I get sleepy when I see that man, and he used to be one of my favorite fucking wrestlers, man. Like that's so on my AEW championship. His name is there. I'm mad that's the only nameplate I got. Like I need another nameplate, man. Like I just want a break. I need a break. So Hook, please just take it home. For all the hookers out here, for the Russell hookers out here, please.
Yeah,
just win it.
Novi did name that our listeners as hookers. A very unfortunate name choice by me with Russell Hook, but we roll on.
Yeah. We need one good wrestling project called Hook. So
we do. So I was like, you know what? The first bio I had was not related to Taz's. That's not the goal with this podcast name here. It's more supposed to be if you're hooked on wrestling. But we get to the last match here. This is the trios ladder match. We have 3 of the teams already announced. We won't go into spoilers for the last one, but we got the Patriarchy coming in as champions. Got the Bang Bang Gang and the Black. I'll say even though the build wasn't necessarily the most inspired thing, that Christian angle when he was the referee, I feel like no one could have executed that well as he did. That was tremendous.
Yeah, he's a master. He makes stuff that should suck good. He's one of one.
But as far as this goes, do y'all have any? I guess for the teams announced, is there anyone you think is most likely to win this one?
This is a difficult one to predict without doing spoilers, right?
It is.
Of the teams announced, I would say the House of Black because they are very popular professional wrestlers that the crowd will like, and I'll say that. But my main prediction here, or main talking point, is I just hope everyone makes it out of this thing because a 12-man ladder match is it's scary stuff. I just hope everyone makes it out okay, and I'm sure it'll be fun and exciting. But these matches are increasingly crazy. So hopefully Christian can play the dad in this and make sure everyone gets out safe. But I would say House of Black among the announced teams.
I like that. Girard, do you have any favorites here?
I am trying to figure out who this mystery team is because I thought this was just being left as a mystery. I must have just dropped.
No, so they for context, they recorded a match for Collision for Saturday, and there was 2 teams in it. One that exists, one that is a surprise for you. So I won't even say it. I think you should watch it live.
Like they're not a part of the company, and
no. I mean, you know them on AEW. They're just not a team.
Oh well.
So,
well,
already disappointed.
That blows my big ass spot because I was be like, here comes Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and Ricochet taking the trios titles in this match. This is just gonna be my wild ball for the night, and just wow, there goes my spot.
Yeah, not quite. But that being said, I think that could have been a cool way if you did want to bring him in as a trio. I just think having that Ricochet moment in the gauntlet, and you could because then you have the other surprise. And I don't know if Bobby would come out in that match as well, or if they do that down the line. But yeah, sorry to spoil.
I want to give him a dub though. I just want to give him a dub because I don't think Ricochet walks out the Casino Gauntlet with that one.
Right.
No. Yeah, we could protect him, but I want him to get that. I want him to get that initial pop, and I want him to get that win pop. So
it's not impossible. I just think with the gauntlet, like, he can have such a memorable winning. Like it's not even like a Royal Rumble where like the big moment is the finish, right? It's like he can have like all the big spots, the memorable spots in the match, and not be involved at all. But as far as this trios match goes, I'll pick the Bang Bang Gang. But some beloved winners, Juice Robinson winning a stadium match. But yeah, I'm hoping Jay White is also a potential gauntlet person. But I guess we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's the last main card match. We can kind of touch on I think it's the only pre-show match announced so far. We got Chris and Stokely one against Willow and Ishii. This is awesome. I'm gonna watch this. What did y'all think when you saw this Stokely this match?
Locked in. Gotta get early. This is like peak pre-show stuff. This is ideal. This will be very fun. I think there's a fair critique to be made about like this feud. Fair, but ultimately it'll be awesome at Wembley, and like it's fun, right? Ishii and Stoke. Come on, that'll be fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
I can see a world where Stokely's laying on top of Ishii by the end of this somehow.
That would be insane.
Hey, you heard it here first.
Sure. Yeah. This one it's a fun match, but like you said, I don't know necessarily if it's the perfect one for the feud. But I am looking forward to All Out, especially because I think that'll probably be some type of street fight or something when we finally get that last. I guess this is a fine way to continue it, but also have definitely not
Stokely
offensive.
And Ishii in a street fight, that's gonna be crazy at All Out.
Exactly. 2 street fights. But yeah, that's kind of all the matches. Joe, you'll be there in person this year. Is there anything in particular that you're just really excited to see?
Entrance is the 1 seed for me. I was lucky to be there in Chicago for the Ricky Starks match when he came out to Final Countdown. A moment that will stick with me forever, and at Wembley Stadium, my goodness, that will be That'll be special. So for me, it's more just the experience of, look, is it last year? No. There's going to be 50,000 people here at Wembley Stadium for a non-WWE show. Like, that's the appeal to me, honestly. There's not a match that I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see who wins. It's more just, I want to see the show. I want to see Dragon. I'm excited to be there for sure.
Yeah, I was there for All Out as well. That was about as memorable of a moment as I can pick from that show. Truly, truly fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
Girard, is there anything you're looking forward to on Sunday in specifically?
I'm looking forward to the budget being rolled out for the final countdown. That is, I am a sucker for that. And
I almost had to pay Joe more for his theme, but I think Tony's gonna have me.
Almost definitely. But him rolling it out at Forbidden Door for him and Okada for that first time, being there live for that, and just that being that surprise for us there, so much fun. And I want to hear that again. I'll be at home singing along with it. So I want that. I'm overall looking forward to just an exciting show. I love the atmosphere of last year's show, watching that at home and like realizing that this is not WWE, and like having those like moments throughout the show that, oh my God, this is not WWE. I love the unique entrance way that was dug in, and then at the LED screens coming out. I thought the whole presentation of it was just big and glamorous.
It looked beautiful.
So
It did.
I want to feel that again. And here's the thing, I feel like last year's show was such a great, great moment, but because of everything that happened after, we never fully got to enjoy and celebrate that. And also, I don't think the company got the boost from that event that it should have. And so I hope this year we get another boost from it and we can ride that out through the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the energy was definitely strange last year going in. Why All Out being so good was like so random and awesome.
Tell me about
it. Yeah, I'm sure making that trip wasn't as exciting when it got to the moment, but the show was great. So like,
that was brilliant. Yeah, brilliant show.
I'm definitely excited to bask in it a little more this year. Like you said, it's gonna be fun.
Definitely.
And also just like to, we do give AEW its criticism sometimes as far as making stars and stuff, but just to see Will Ospreay in a big spot this year, like fully in AEW, to see Swerve going from, I think in the last year he'd been building up to be a main event guy, but going from that to being the guy to main event stadium, that's what I'm super locked in for. But yeah, definitely an exciting atmosphere, an exciting show to get into. Yeah, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. I know your free agency tour may be going on to an end soon. We have some exciting stuff coming up though with Late Night Grin. Do you want to kind of plug any of that, or kind of talk a little bit about what's coming up soon?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, fellas. This was very, very fun. I apologize if my connection's dropping out. I don't know, OBS not a fan of mine. I apologize. I hope you've
not a fan of me. I think it's all of us somehow, but yeah.
Okay. It's just their fault, folks, not ours. But it was great to be here. LNG, as you mentioned, we do have some big stuff coming up. On August 27th, we are launching LNG Gold with a YouTube membership deal, which, if I may say so myself, is a quite absurd offering of weird wrestling things. So if you like professional wrestling, there may be something there that pops you. We have 3 tiers, and we tried to keep them affordable best we could. I know that's like a hard, and I've never ever felt good about doing paywall stuff, because it's like, I am a guy on a StreamYard talking about wrestling, but like, I'm pretty confident with what we put together. So LNG Gold launches August 27th. Very, very excited.
Well, hey, that's a great project, and hey, that sounds like a great opportunity. So congrats on that. Congrats, because that takes a lot of work to build something like that and to have that for yourself. And so, hey, revel in that. When you get to that mountaintop and you launch, you just take that air in, because that's a great scene to feel, because hey, that's yours and y'all are building that.
So appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be in the grinner circle with all of y'all, so I'm very looking forward to that, very locked in for that. But yeah, thank you so much. Like I said, to anyone in the chat, thank you for watching this stream about wrestling. I hope we can continue doing stuff like this going forward. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I think next week we're gonna be live, likely Tuesday or Thursday. Potentially doing a post All-In. Be on the lookout for that. Appreciate all you for joining. Till next time, we're out.